Yes, once again, thank you so much, Sir Teddy Monroy, for sharing that insightful discussion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Teddy G. Monroy. And now let's proceed with the second speaker for the hour.
He is an award-winning innovator for a smart city expert and a global architect driven by a passion for creating more livable and sustainable urban environments.
With a diverse background spanning architecture, urban design, anthropology, and public policy, he brings a multidisciplinary perspective to addressing complex urban challenges.
Currently serving as a smart city expert at Thailand's Digital Economy Promotion Agency, he has spearheaded numerous digital transformation and smart city initiatives nationally.
This includes launching of Thailand's first smart city program and delivering capacity building to more than 5,000 officials.
His unique combination of design, research, and public sector experience enables him to develop human-centered solutions that leverage technology for better quality of life.
He said last night that he lives and breathes and eats a smart city. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Dr. Non Kra Praser, the Senior Expert Digital Economy Promotions Agency, Thailand.
Sawadee krab. Hi guys, how's everybody doing this morning? Great? Okay. Well, it's great to be back here again. Last year it was my first time in Kabayan cities, and I was impressed by the hospitality, the engagements, and of course the love for technology that you guys are doing so well and having as the tenets of your thinking about how technology and sciences could actually lead to a betterment of the society as a whole. So I'm really happy to be here today. It's my second time, and I hope that this will not be my last. Hope to come back next year. Hope that the year after as well. So today, I'd like to talk to you about some of the things that we have been doing in the past 12 months since we last met in March last year. We have quite a progress compared to what we did last year. So I'm going to present you that today. So let's get started. Many of you may have heard of the city of Nakhon Si Thammarat in southern Thailand. It was once known for its heritage, for its cultural amenities, many temples and shrines and churches, and people go there to celebrate their spiritual journeys. But only in the past 2 years, Nakhon Si Thammarat has gained another reputation, which is a model smart city of Thailand. So I'm going to spend some time talking about why the city in the southern part of Thailand has become a model smart city for the nation as well as for the ASEAN region. As you can see the picture here, we was able to snatch one of the most prestigious awards in Korea last year, actually one of the most prestigious smart city award in the world because of what we did with the city. So I'm pretty sure you're curious what we did there, right? So let me show you. By the way, Nakhon Si Thammarat and Kabayan has a really good relationship. So last year in May, we organized a conference call between Mayor JC and of course Mayor Ganop of Nakhon Si Thammarat, and of course Attorney Rena was there and I was there too, and we discussed the possibilities of Kabayan, which is the first smart city of the Philippines, and Nakhon Si Thammarat, which is a model smart city of Thailand, to actually work together and try to find the exchange of knowledge, exchange of ideas, and of course collaboration and co-creations. So let's get to the reason why Nakhon Si Thammarat has become a model smart city of Thailand. So I will start with a story of this city. It's flooded all the time over the past 8 years, and the reason for it was because it rains a lot. And because of that, investments left the city. Because of that, people were thinking of Nakhon Si Thammarat as a city that is not so livable because of the flooding problems and that persisting and penetrating and permeating all the time. So we were thinking about what we should do with this problem in these cities. And one of the ideas was to build a physical infrastructure Like we can have a water dam, we can have an underground waterways to take care of the overflowing of the water. We can do all kinds of things with the physical infrastructure that is built of concrete and steel. The problem with that is that these physical infrastructure are really expensive. We're talking about hundreds of millions of Thai baht or 20, 30 million US dollars, which we didn't have. And the city itself didn't have the money to do that. So we were thinking, if we were to use digital means to solve this problem, is it possible? So what we did first was to find out what is the root cause of flooding. And turns out, the root cause of the problem with the flooding has to do with all the waterways in the cities that are constantly clogged. And these clogging waterways has to do with the fact that people, when they don't know where to throw their trash away, they throw it in the waterways. And we cannot blame them. It also has to do with the fact that the city doesn't have the management services to take care of the large piece of furniture or trees that people cut down in order to make way for spaces and so on. So in this case, we realize is that if we can unclog the waterways, the water will flow much better. And once the water flows much better, we might be able to avoid flooding. But how do we solve these problems? So one of the ways to do it is to hire more people to go around the city and try to find clogged waterways and fix them, right? But the problem, the other thing is that we don't have enough manpower. We don't have enough workforce to do that. So what we did was to try to get the citizens to become our smart city officers. We try to turn every citizen in the city to become our closed-circuit cameras. If you find a problem, take a picture, send it to us. And once we see the pictures, we are able to identify where that location is because of the metadata in the photograph. We can identify whether or not it was taken just now because of the timestamp in the metadata. We can also identify the MAC address that was attached to the photo. Then we can identify who took the photo. So all these things are giving us the power of big data. Because once we have these informations, we are able to direct our resources to the right place in order to solve the problems that seems to be persisting and permeating and not solvable until now. So we turn the process of paperwork that in the past people have to travel to the city hall to fill in this boring form to an online application. The app itself is so light that any phones in the world, I assure you, even the phone from 10 years ago can open it. And once you have the app, you can actually communicate with the cities. Once you have a problem that you notice, you can send a problem to the cities with one click. And what happened was that within the next 2 months after we launched the app, we got so much data. Too much that we couldn't even process by hand. And that's when we brought in big data expert. That's when we brought in the AI expert to help us try to understand and analyze this. Well, this might not be very useful because you only see a lot of dots on the maps. But what it is that tell you right now is that if you happen to have, for instance, 5 trucks to go around the city to fix problems, you ain't going to places that there's no dots there. But in the past, what happened was that the city would draw grids, and then they'll send trucks to each of the grids on the map, which means that some trucks will go to grids that have no problems at all, and some trucks would go to grids that have thousands of problems, and that's not balanced in terms of how we manage our limited resources. So when we have this, we start to realize is that if we can turn these dots into a heat map, where we can actually look at the verified problems that citizens helping us in terms of verifications, we might be able to direct our limited resources to the right place at the right time. So let's turn it into a heat map. Now you start to see the magic of big data, right? So we color-coded it differently. The places whereby there are only 1 or 2 problems, we coding it yellow. In places that we saw a lot of problems, we coded it orange. In places where we saw a lot of problems, we coded it purple, which means that we are able to identify where to send all the trucks and all the staff to fix problems timely, because we are able to target where the problems are persisting and where we should be directing our resources. So in which case, you can probably imagine now that if the problem here is clogging waterways, all you have to do is to find a location where the waterways in blue intersects with the purple. And that would be the place you should be directing. We should be directing our trucks towards, because these are verified problems that the citizen help us identify. So within the next few months after we launched this, we were able to identify all the locations of clogged waterway almost instantly. without having to randomly send trucks to places that may not have any problem persisting. With this resources that we have from the citizens' voice, getting us the data, we collected the data accurately with precision. And we analyze them with big data software that enable us to see the patterns of problems that otherwise we wouldn't see. We also visualize it so that the staff can understand why they're doing what they're doing. And with this, we were able to solve the problems that has been haunting the city of Nakhon Si Thammarat for years. Now, what you are thinking is that, well, is this going to be sustainable? Well, the reason why we think it's sustainable has to do with the fact that this software doesn't cost the city much at all. We're talking about roughly $20,000 ballpark for a year of subscription to the big data software with the front end analytics and of course the back end AI power engines. It doesn't cost much compared to hundreds of millions we have to spend if we were to build physical infrastructure. So here is the magic of digital information. Here's the magic of big data. And here's the magic of how we do things differently when it comes to co-creation and collaboration with our citizens. So I'm really happy to report that after the success in using this app to solve problems with the flooding, we are expanding it. So now any problems at all that people see, they can just use the app and send it to us, and we can solve them. So we bring down the time that we use to fix problem from 2 months down to just 48 hours. And this has happened across the board, whether the problems are about people who need help, like elderly, or the problems with the potholes on the streets, or the problems with the waste management, we can do it in 48 hours. Not because we have lots of staff, but because we have data that target us, that target at the problems that are persisting, and we know for sure where the problems are because of the data that tell us precisely the location, the time, and the prioritization level of that problems. And these are very good because we're really proud of it so far, and we're kind of expanding it. So right now we have about 20,000 problems solved in the past 18 months, and about 70% of the citizens are already interacting with the app on a daily basis. So our goal at DIPA, my office in Thailand, which is in charge of Smart City program in Thailand, is to expand this operation across the board. So Nakhon Si Thammarat has become a model because it uses something that is very affordable, like a small app, to solve problems that are used to be unaffordable, like flooding that needs a lot of money when we thought about it in terms of physical infrastructural building. So this is good because when we look at this, we start to realize is that in the past, we thought that if we have money and good intention, you can always build a smart city. But turns out, in this case, from these cases, there are so many cities around the world that use a lot of money with good intention, and they don't have good results. So for us, we flip the script. Instead of starting with the money and good intention, we start with good intention and prototype machines, right? Because if we are able to come up with good ideas because we have good intention, but we don't just spend money right away. We prototype first what we believe to be the essence and the core causes of the problems. Maybe we can do less and gain more. So I call these problems the problems of having too much money and good intention and no results. I call it a well-intentioned parent problem. So what happened in this picture is quite clear. The parents here are like cities, and the baby here is like a citizens, right? The parents always look at it from the top-down perspective. I want the city to have smart poles. I want the city to have 5G communication devices. I want the city to have a new town. But turns out the baby, who are the citizens, are not looking at it from the same perspective. And it's always the case. It doesn't mean that the parents are bad. It doesn't mean that the parents don't have the good intention and money because the parent could buy this toy for the baby. The problem is that the perspectives are unmatched. They are not the same perspective. So what we do is that we become a better parents. So before we build anything, we would be sleeping in the bed with the baby first and try to visualize the success and the outcome from that perspective. Once we can be sure that what we do is benefiting the baby, then we go ahead and do it. If it doesn't go the way we want it, if it's not what we think it would be, then we scale it down. If it's not what we think it is at all, then we scale it back. If it's completely nonsensical in terms of how it could operate the way we wanted it, we scratch it. right? So, but when you do it in terms of prototype, scrapping a prototype is affordable. It's cheap because you haven't done anything, you haven't invested so much yet. We can scrap it, we can make up a new one. But if you have money and you spend it directly without prototyping, without testing with the citizens, then what happens is that you're going to lose a lot of opportunity, you're going to lose a lot of investment fund when the project doesn't come your way. So don't be a well-intentioned parents. We don't want that you to be the parents who only look at the citizens from your own perspectives only. So in Thailand, what we do in terms of smart city promotions start from the left to the right, which is very different from many countries that start from the right to the left. The right to the left means that the national government start with an idea, and then the idea cascade down to the local municipalities. So the government can say, we want this city A to be city for mobility. We want the city B to be city for tourism. And then the policy and funding cascade down to the government in the local level. We don't do that. What we do, because we don't want to be well-intentioned parents, is to start from the left, which is to think about what locality wants first, and then use what does the locality think it wants as a means to incentivize the locality to do better by the government endorsement at the national level. So by coming from the locality itself, all the way to getting endorsement by the national level committee, we are avoiding the well-intentioned parents problem. Because everything that we do comes from within, comes from the understanding of the citizens, comes from the deep co-creation with those whom we want to serve, those whom we want their livelihood to be enhanced. So, just to conclude, there are, I think, 3 points that I want to leave you with today. The first one has to do with the use of technology. Technologies today are moving really rapidly. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in this room know what AI can do for us these days. Right? I was writing my bio this morning using AI as well because I'm lazy. But technology is moving really fast. That doesn't mean that we have to use all of it. We only have to use what is meaningful to us. That's why we like to call this tenet of ideas the purposeful use of technology. Pick and choose what is good for you. Technology doesn't have to be the most cutting edge, doesn't have to be the most advanced, it just has to work for you. Smart city is not a field where people compete for who have more sensors, who have more software, who have more advanced technology. Smart city is a battlefield of who can actually create a better livelihood for the citizens. I like to frame it that way. So technology has to be purposeful. Choose what worked for you. If the technology was 10 years ago, but it worked for you, choose it. It doesn't have to be the newest or the most advanced one. But if the advanced technology is affordable and it can really help your work to become much more meaningful, then use it too. Don't think about technology from the perspective of the parents, but from the citizens. Try to co-create and think about it with them. The second point is about what we want, which is about value. A lot of people think of smart cities as quantity. Let's have as many smart operations as possible. Let's have as many smart solutions as possible. But at the end of the day, which of these boxes would you choose? Right? You want a box that contains value and not just optimization that is optimization for whom. So we want the box that contains the ball that bounce rather than the balls that are cut in half, just to be able to fit into one box of tennis balls. So think about the kind of value you are delivering to your citizens. Think about operations that are affordable, prototypable, replicable, scalable, and of course can enhance the sensitivities of how people interact with you in terms of the system itself. And last point, it's about thinking big. Like, for instance, we talk about the case study of Nakhon Si Thammarat, where they solved problems that used to cost them millions and millions with just tens of thousands in terms of investment fund. That is because they think big. But they don't think big and act big right away. Because if you think big and act big, you can fail big too. So what they do is that they think big and they act small. They prototype it along the way. If you look at this app, today it's the version 5.3. It looked very sophisticated. But the first version looked like this. Right? There are only 2 buttons, and this button led the citizens to a Google form, and the Google form is what the citizens have to fill in. Of course, it's just a prototype, right? But it's the first step towards the version 5.3 that we have today. But if they were to start doing something like this from the beginning and it's not working, they're going to be spending a lot of money on software development. That doesn't yield good results. So start small, but with a big idea and with consistency. You can move from the prototype to an actual application that works for the people, and this has proven to be right. So my concluding slide, I only have one picture, which is the picture that I showed you from the beginning, right? Many of you asked me earlier that, hey, why are you using photos of people in a slide about smart city? Shouldn't it be a picture of a city? Well, my argument here is that if you want to build a smart city, you need smart people. Smart people doesn't mean that you have to be a genius or anything. It just means that you have to understand the technology that works for you. You have to understand the systems that would operate on your behalf, and you have to be able to communicate and collaborate with those who are going to benefit from what you have to do in terms of building up your operations. I believe wholeheartedly that people should be at the core of smart cities. But then again, people sometimes make bad decisions, so we have to build systems that are good for them. I believe in at least 3 tenets of people-mindedness, right? One thing is that people love to collaborate. The second thing is that people love data. I mean, we all love gossips and tabloids, right? Those are data too. So if we can turn it around, like, okay, no more tabloids and gossips. Let's collect real data with accuracy. Let's use those data to find a way to maximize our operations and find a way to come up with solutions that change and shape the way in which we live. That's a better use of data. And the last point, I believe, is that people also have the sense of empathy towards each other. So if we can build something up from the ground and with the ideas that are big, and then we prototype along the way, that is the best way to galvanize the support from everybody in the community to want to work with you. So I leave you with this: people first, because we believe in people. People first, because we believe that smart people are the core of smart city promotion. And people first, because we believe that people can do a lot of things if we put our minds and hands together. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Non Arkara Prasektul. To present the token of appreciation, may we call on Dr. Rickmer P. Aquino, Isabella State University President, and Dr. Virginia G. Biljera, DOST Region 2 Regional Director.
Okay, that was a very interesting topic
Yes.
of Dr. Non.
Thank you so much, Dr. Non. And may we ask for more audience if you have question or any question to Dr. Non regarding his presentation. He pointed out the importance of having smart people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially their practices in